Today I'm going to cover MassMutual's updated PUA rider limits for whole life insurance policies. We'll start by going over the old limits and comparing them to the new limits, and then we'll look at a demonstration. So to kick things off, MassMutual's old PUA limits, which they have operated with for a very long time, allowed for a maximum PUA payment of up to 10 times the base premium per year. Now, a quick side note to mention with this is if you have an existing MassMutual policy that was started before 2026, you are still subject to the old limits, meaning policies started before 2026 do not get the benefits of the new PUA rider limits. Their new PUA rider limits are as follows. They now allow a maximum of 15 times the base premium to be added to PUAs per year. And these new limits apply to all policies started on or after January of 2026. Now, if our limit is 10x or 15x, whatever it might be, you'll need a term insurance rider to prevent a MEC, which I would always recommend. So let's get into this in detail, but first, I just want to go over the relationship between the premium and PUA rider, especially if you're relatively new to this. So when it comes to funding a whole life insurance policy, your money as a policyholder can go toward one of two primary areas, either the base premium or the PUA rider. And what you will find with respect to your cash value is that money you pay toward the base premium will prioritize life insurance first and cash value second. This is especially true upfront when you're looking at your year one cash value and your break-even point, which is when your total cash value exceeds the total amount of money you've paid into the policy. So that's the base premium. And then you have the PUA rider, which stands for paid up additions. Money you pay here, you'll feel like will prioritize cash value first and life insurance second. The reason why is because of this. If you were to purchase a traditional whole life insurance policy, if you just called up a company and said, I want a $1 million whole life insurance policy, it might cost you $10,000. It'll depend on your age. But you'll likely be shown a policy where all of that $10,000 payment goes toward the base premium. And with a traditional whole life insurance policy, what you will find is that the base premium does not give you any cash value up front, or a very, very small number. In most cases, the base premium does not give you any cash value for the first and second year. Whereas if you took that same exact policy with the same exact company and structured it for high cash value, what you would find is you could fund the exact same dollar amount, $10,000 per year, but if we drove that premium down to $1,000, 10%, and then put the rest toward your PUA rider, you would find that your first year cash value, instead of zero, would be very, very close to $9,000. It might be $8,500 to $9,000, depends on the company and product and different PUA fees associated with your policy. But the name of the game for someone who is interested in a whole life insurance policy for cash value is really understanding the limits. Specifically, how low will a life insurance company allow me to set that base premium? And then how much can I add toward my PUA rider on top of that? So for example, if someone said, I want to be able to put in 10 grand per year, what I would look at is different life insurance companies, and whatever company they prefer, how low can I set that minimum premium? That allows more of their payment to go toward PUAs, which will give them more cash value. And it also makes it very flexible because the PUA can be adjusted up and down over the years. where the premium is your true minimum requirement, especially when you start the policy. So let's go through some examples here. When you look at MassMutual as a company, if one is interested in cash value, they really have two core products, their 10-pay product and their 15-pay product. They also have an 8-pay, which is decent. However, the 10-pay and 15-pay are the strongest. And if you look at the 10-pay, that product does have the highest internal rate of return on cash value. The 15-pay is slightly less from a performance standpoint, but it gives an individual the option to fund a little bit longer than 10 years. I can go up to 15 years. So what we're going to do is look at their 10-pay product in this example, and the demonstration we'll look at is as follows. We'll look at funding a policy with $100K per year for 10 years, and we'll look at several different designs. We'll look at a 50-50 split, which means of the 100K, 50,000 will go toward the base premium, and 50,000 will go toward the PUA rider. Then a 25-75 split, which means 25,000 will go toward the base and 75 toward the PUA. Then a 1090, which is a $10,000 base and 90,000 PUA. And then their new 15x limit, which will give you a base premium of a little bit more than $62.50, and the rest goes toward PUAs. We'll call this a 694 split because it's very close to that. And what you'll find with all of these examples is that a term rider is attached, and that term rider is included in the PUA payment. So the PUA payments are technically a little bit less than the numbers that I have in purple here. So all of the illustrations that you're going to look at on Excel are based on these illustrations. So we've got the names here, 50-50 client, that represents the 50-50 split. And what you'll find, if we look at the values here, everything you see on Excel will match this guy. Where the 50% premium comes from is up top, a $50,000 base premium for the 50-50 design. Same thing, if we look at the 25-75, there we go. There's your 25K base premium. There's your cash value over time. Same thing with the 1090. There's your 10K base premium up top. There's your total cash value. You'll see this match the illustration on Excel as we look at that. And then you've got the new 15x limit, which I called this a 694 because the base premium came out to $62.50, and there's your cash value over time. So let's take a look at the numbers on Excel. It'll make this a lot easier to go through. So to start, we've got the 50-50 design. What do we see here? You're funding $100K per year for 10 years. You don't have to fund that long. You could stop after a few years if you wanted to. But the 50-50 represents the fact that 50% of that 100K goes toward the premium, and the other 50% goes toward the PUA rider. Why the first year cash value is more than $50,000 is because with MassMutual's 10-pay product, you see a percentage of the base premium show up in cash value in the first year. So this is a product that is specifically designed by MassMutual for cash accumulation. When they say, hey, agents out there, we're showing our MassMutual 10-pay, it's really designed for individuals who are interested in whole life insurance for cash accumulation. The death benefit we've got set at the minimum. It's slightly over a $100,000 MEC limit, which we can see on the illustration. But there's our 50-50 design. Here's our 25-75. What do you notice here? As we lowered the base premium, we see more cash value up front, and then also an earlier break-even point between years 4 and 5 instead of 5 and 6, like what we see with the 50-50 design. Here's our 1090. Now what do you notice? Check that out. 90% in the first year. Break-even point between years 3 and 4. And then if we look at the New 694 using the 15x multiplier. Check this out. First year cash value, 92.3%. We have a larger term insurance rider here, which is why we're not closer to 93 or 94%. But even with that term rider attached, so close to breaking even year 3 in this particular case. Very cash rich upfront, which is fantastic. And if we look at the year 10 cash value, what do you notice across the board? Yeah, the lower base premium is stronger. Now the question that always comes up is, what about after the funding period? What do they look like long term? Well, the answer can be found by looking at everything long term. Here's the next 10 years. What do you notice? The two on the right are the leaders. That 1090 is getting pretty close to the 694 though. And as time passes, what you will find is that 1090 does eventually overtake the 6% base premium. They're very, very close, but that's just based on the dividend treatment and such. But rather than look at all four side by side, let's do this very quickly. So first, we've got the 50-50 compared to the 25-75. I want to go through a side-by-side comparison of each so we can see who the winner is. So here's these two, side-by-side comparison, cash value difference. We can see 25-75 has more cash value from start to finish than the 50-50 design. What this column is showing us is how much more we have in cash value with this guy compared to this guy over here. All right, so the 25-75 is the winner. Let's compare that to the 1090. What do we see here? Well, cash value difference in favor of the 1090. As we push that base premium lower, we direct more money toward our PUA rider, which results in getting more cash value up front, begins compounding right away. That's why we see more money here. And then let's take that 1090 and compare it to that 6% base premium, or 6.25% base premium. Here we go. That break-even point, almost year 3, is sweet. Not much of a difference here, is there? There's not. Initially, there's a little bit, but then long-term, it goes back in favor of the 1090. There's a couple reasons to this. One, if we were to break down how the dividends are working with both of these illustrations, you would see a little bit higher dividend with the 10% base premium example. But then also, if we were to look at the term insurance rider, you will see a higher term rider with that 6% minimum premium. I kind of feel like we're splitting hairs here because they're so close. Here's our 10% minimum premium. There's our term insurance rider, one of them at least, just over $1,000. Then here is our 6% minimum premium. There's our term insurance rider, almost $400 higher, close to that per year for 10 years. I had to carry the term rider through the 15th year to prevent a mech. So my point is, they're very close. What I would look at with both, I would look at both if I'm interested in a policy, but what I would do is really look at the short term, look at the long term. What I like about those low premiums, in addition to more cash value upfront when I look at a comparison, is I typically will see a lot more on a guaranteed basis from start to finish. I've always seen that. When all things are designed apples to apples, the lower the base premium, the greater the guaranteed cash value is. That's one thing. Another thing is the funding flexibility. So if I like the idea of carrying the lowest premium possible, so this way in the event that life happens, I know I'm only committed to that, so I have a lower minimum commitment, that's a check mark in favor of a lower base premium design. Another thing that I like with low premium policies is that if a life happens event occurs and I can't pay anything, say I lose my job, what does the policy have to pay for on its own? The base premium and the term rider if I have it attached. So if I have minimized those expenses, that puts me in a really good position where I'll have peace of mind, because when I look at the cash value growth, it keeps on going up at the fastest rate possible. That's typically what I've seen both on the guaranteed and non-guaranteed side of an illustration. So with all of that said, I do really like those new limits, because if someone prefers a 10% minimum premium because it looks a little bit better after about 20 years, you can still do that. But now we just have this option available as well. It lets us carry a lower minimum premium commitment. And we're with, honestly, one of the best life insurance companies in the industry when it comes to whole life insurance products, specifically set up for high cash value. MassMutual, they're one of the 4 major mutuals. And when I track policies that have been in force longer than 10 years of our actual clients, they deliver. You can check out any of our videos that go through actual policies and historical performance. I see annual yields north of 5.5%. I don't have to worry about the game of an illustration looking great and then it under delivers, which happens so much in the life insurance industry when people are interested in whole life insurance for cash value. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you liked the new PUA limits with MassMutual. If you have any questions, please let us know in the comments below. And as always, I hope this helps.